Episode 12 of the Matt Sager Podcast. I'm Matt Sager. Happy Thursday. You got any weekend plans? I'm trying to figure out what I've got going on. I always leave this till the last minute. The only thing I know for sure is I'm doing a lot of working out. Got serious gym commitments. I've at this weird, I don't want to say late, but later than most for this type of thing, period in my life, I've become a gym rat. So, I've talked recently this week because first I discovered this Opie podcast and then it was National Radio Day. I've talked a bit about my time in radio, which got started the way lots of people's careers get started. For many careers, broadcasting, science, it's very hard to get in, degree or not, without taking advantage of the internship program, which, it's incumbent upon you as an intern to make something of it because on paper, an internship is basically just slavery. You come, you work for free, you say thank you, you buy your boss lunch if you want a good report at the end of the year, and yet you can turn that into the best experience of your life where you make lifelong friends, connections that mean everything to you, in spite of or because of it. Or you could just fuck the whole thing up before you have your first day on the job. That's another route you could take. I'm not sure why anyone would, but an intern who found out she'd gotten the gig at NASA. Who interns at NASA, by the way? Broadcasting skills are basic enough that you can sort of hang around unpaid and neither cause trouble nor be at risk of not learning important career skills. I don't know how you learn to do serious NASA stuff, but I assume that she must have had an impeccable, background in STEM and college referrals. One thing I never had as an intern, I didn't have any professors who were like, Matt's going to be an excellent addition to your radio station. Even the interview is a challenge and a real test of your character and your willingness to take a situation that on its face is pretty rough, pretty one-sided and labor-intensive and thankless, and make it the best thing that ever happened to you. But attitude is everything. I'm trying to think of my all-time favorite internship. It, of course, would have been at K-Rock Radio, supervised by Jen Springer. Yeah, prior to that, I'd had one internship. I had my very first job in Los Angeles, interning for the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I couldn't wait to get back to New York. I was ecstatic about this internship opportunity, an interview with Jennifer Springer, Jennifer Sauter at the time, to intern at K-Rock, which was a privilege. We understood that. Not back in the day. It is still my day, and I am of Generation X, which I think worse even than millennials get it. Had some idiot filmmaker and a couple of dummy authors trying to define the decade for themselves. As pop culture can only be understood through generalizing and compartmentalizing entire groups of people. And so my generation was tagged as slackers, and I was working 40, 45, sometimes 50 plus hours a week for zero money and saying thank you. And I still am grateful, by the way. I understand that I was afforded opportunities I would have never had otherwise. That's the thing about an internship. It is the best thing in the world if you're not an idiot. I was actually about to say it's not rocket science. And then I looked at this article that I'm trying to get to. And it actually is, which just makes this story that much worse. So this woman, she goes by the Twitter handle Naomi H, was hired by NASA to be an intern, I guess. And in general, when you've got a gig anywhere, doing anything, actors in particular, when you get roles, the way in which you do and don't comport yourself on social media is tremendously important. The best thing to do when you get a job is nothing. Don't tweet, don't talk about it on Facebook, get really deeply entrenched in the corporate culture and know that you've got a desk with your name on it before you even put it on LinkedIn. There's no reason anyone but your friends ought to know that stuff. And the best case scenario is you look like you're humble bragging. The worst case scenario is you're just a complete dummy. And youth, I don't have it anymore and I'm still impulsive. But this is something other than that. This is a personality disorder. Naomi H. goes on Twitter, having received the news of her internship, and in all caps writes, "Everyone shut the fuck up. I got accepted for a NASA internship." Which, it's funny, I'm conflicted. As a person with compassion, who's made a billion mistakes in his life and been fortunate enough to have been able to atone for many of them, I'm rooting for her. I want her to not be stupid, realize that she goofed, and sweep it under the rug and just get back to normal. That would be my desired outcome, unless I was the intern supervisor at NASA, in which case I would terminate her instantly. I'm sorry. My first day at K-Rock, David Bowie was in the house. He was on premises, recording music and bumpers and promos. David Bowie. As much as that means to you, I can pretty much guarantee it means more to me. And I had just begun my first task of my first day. And Jennifer said, listen, David Bowie's here. Be a professional. Don't look at him. Don't talk to him. He's not here to be bothered. Carry yourself as a professional. And I internalized that. And boy, is that a life lesson that has served me well. In the years that followed and in jobs I held after that, I ended up working near, alongside, next to David Bowie, probably a dozen or more times before it even occurred to me to introduce myself. And ultimately, I think we were introduced. By that time, I'd risen enough and been through enough. Been around David Bowie, keeping my head down like a gentleman, like a decent, civilized guy at the workplace who understands there's a way you carry yourself at the office that is quite different than the way you'd carry yourself at a rock concert. You understand? David Bowie's a human being too. Doesn't need to be bothered. So by the time David Bowie and I met, somebody was like, David Bowie, Matt Sager. You're doing a show tomorrow. Or David Bowie, Matt Sager. He was backstage at the 50th birthday show. And then, oh, right. Cool, so I remember. Yeah, he remembers. Nobody's excited to meet the intern. The intern has the privilege of being on the job site and learning what they can and contributing what they can and carrying that with them and being successful. That works when you don't go on Twitter and say, everyone shut the fuck up, I got accepted for a NASA internship. And by the way, your employers, before they hire you and after, they're going to look at your social media. I mean, when you're screaming into the ether that you've got a job, you can't possibly be so stupid as to think that that universe doesn't include NASA, whose job is doing stuff with the universe. They could be monitoring you for no reason at all. If you're going to be an intern in the building with access, my God, don't say, shut the fuck up, I got a NASA job. So Naomi H., who, by the way, I am conflicted. As a guy, just a regular dude, seeing someone who's made a mistake, having made many mistakes myself, I would want her to get over this. But she was terminated from her internship, and if I were the one making that decision, despite my sympathy for her as a individual, I would boot her so fast. That speaks volumes about her character and her ability to carry herself with professionalism. She's representing NASA in that tweet, in which she tells the entire universe to fucking shut up. I don't think that's a NASA-approved message. But it could have just sat there. They might not have seen it. She might have left it alone. They might have discovered it after her internship, maybe even during. And if she was doing a decent job, they'd probably say, listen, we don't do that here at NASA. And also don't take pens and paper clips when you go home. We monitor that too. Because, yeah, that is what an internship is. You are the lowest person on the totem pole. You say please and thank you. You don't say fuck to anyone ever. But she got a response from Homer Hickam, who you may be familiar with from a movie called October Sky, documenting his life, his legendary life at NASA in the Space Department. And so he's on Twitter seeing what people have to say about NASA. And he sees everyone shut the fuck up. I got accepted for a NASA internship. He's concerned for both Naomi and the impression she's making, the internship that she's so excited about that she is tanking, and for the image of NASA. Obviously, he's on Twitter looking at tweets about NASA. He does not want their image to be, hey, everybody, go fuck yourself. I got a gig at NASA. That is not the image they're trying to portray. So he's both a war veteran, but a veteran of the space program, a legend in the space program, and he is on the National Space Council that oversees NASA. So he sees this profanity. I'm not a prude. You can say fuck to me all day long. I don't care. But he sees this associated with NASA, and he simply replies, language. That's, depending on the mindset you're in when you see that, that might read a little bit condescending, but you've got to, again, I keep thinking there's something wrong with this woman. Like, seriously, like it's a bipolar thing or a narcissism borderline. Because you've got to be in that hyper-defensive, aggressive stance to see something that nasty in a tweet simply stating the one-word language could be interpreted in a variety of ways. She responds, suck my dick and balls. I'm working at NASA. Now, day one hasn't come yet. And obviously never will. And so the guy responds, and I am on the National Space Council that oversees NASA. Why he didn't respond with, I'm also the guy from the movie that probably inspired you to pursue this internship. I'm a legend. Don't ever mount. Oh my God. Trying to imagine a world in which I tweet about an upcoming internship and tell Scott Greenstein to suck my dick and balls and what that would mean for my career in broadcasting. It would not be good. It would be stillborn. Now, Hickam shares my view. They've come to him and said, hey, so this person was tweeting something very stupid. You tweeted something in reply. Then she told you to go suck her dick and balls. Have you talked about it? And he said yes. And he thinks, like I do, that she should have been allowed to keep her job. That is an interesting perspective for him to have as someone who's not in the department, but who oversees the department via his role on the National Space Council. Again, if I were the intern supervisor, whoever recruits the interns and whoever is responsible for them, maybe it's human resources, I don't know. But if I were that person, if it was my job to monitor staff, particularly interns, which usually is a separate department from HR, although HR, there is some crossover, whatever. If I saw this tweet and was in the mailroom at NASA, I would see to it that she was fired. You can't be near stuff that involves space and be such a loose cannon. So I'm not saying I was the best intern ever. The Red Hot Chili Peppers, I kind of goofed around a little bit when I was out there working with them. But at K-Rock, they whipped me into shape. I ended up on air there. If Naomi ends up having a successful career, it will be one that does not involve NASA. Barring, social media took it away, maybe it'll give back. There's every possibility that people will feel like me en masse and sort of rally for her. But even then, she'll always be, if she's lucky and gets a career, it'll be because, oh yeah, it's like being the Star Wars kid. You don't want to make your debut on the internet looking stupid and looking nasty and unprofessional. So intern better, people. Thought I would get on my high horse for this evening's episode. I hope you enjoyed. Oh, and I've reached Naomi for comment. Let's see, what have we got to say?
I am an idiot.
There we go. You didn't think I forgot about my soundboard, did you? Come on. This thing and I, we're going places, my soundboard and me. Thank you very much for hanging out with me on another episode of the Matt Sager Podcast. And by the way, I'm recruiting for talent. Feel free to tweet about it, too. Get in touch with me and leave me reviews, subscribe to the show, contact me, matt@mattsager.com. Phone is 646-535-4788. On Twitter, it's @MattSager. Facebook is The Matt Sager, and my voiceover page, Matt Sager VO. Instagram, Real Matt Sager. And for my voiceover reels, episodes of this podcast, blog posts, articles, my contact info, more social media links, everything you could want, and probably a bit more besides. Go to mattsagervoiceover.com.
Please clap.